Here on The Colour of Country Life, we're speaking with the Deputy Leader of the Nationals, Emma Keeley. Emma, how are you going today?
I'm great, thank you, Ricky.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh, what have you got in the studio there?
Sorry, I'll turn that down. That's the corellas. They seem to interrupt regional life more regularly these days.
Yeah, we're in corella breeding season at the moment, Ricky, so I'm getting more and more complaints through my office just of, people who are volunteering to manage their community assets or, particularly our ovals, bowling greens, they do a lot of damage, and even infrastructure like power lines. I've even had complaints where corellas have pecked out the rubber seal around a windscreen and the windscreen's fallen on somebody as they've been driving. They just do an incredible amount of damage. It's been something that I've been raising with the relevant minister for a long period of time, and yet another season comes around, another round of damage to things in our community, things we've got at home in our businesses, and yet we're still not seeing any action from the government.
Now, this is a native species that's become, I guess, overabundant. Why do we have inaction in this area? Is it because they're a native species and there's a view in some elements of bureaucracy we should just let nature take its course?
Well, we had a bit of action last year, Ricky, where I'd written to the Minister in April raising the concerns of the community about the damage that the corellas were doing, and we actually got a positive response back from the Minister for Environment and Climate Change, and she made the commitment that DELP, as it was named at that stage, had prepared a Victorian statewide corella strategy, which would be released shortly. Now, that was in June of last year. We still haven't seen a statewide corella strategy. I don't understand why the department and why the government are sitting on this when it could be something that was put into action by our local councils, by businesses, by our community groups, and we could actually have a way that we can manage corellas rather than just this horrendous damage that costs so much.
I just recall, some strategies that were being considered in the past. There has been sort of gas guns and even, selective management, if I can use the pointy end of a barrel to describe it, just so people don't get squeamish about it. What are some of the approaches that are being used or even that the opposition thinks should be used with corellas?
Yeah, at the moment it's sort of left up to local government areas to determine how they can best manage corellas in their local area. So it does go from just shooing them away to, we've seen some other lethal action. There's some, basically it's only through one part of the year. It is when it's this breeding season when there's just an incredible number of young corellas. They are quite aggressive, they are hungry, and so they do whatever they can to basically find food and to survive. It's really, it's something there that's a natural part of the cycle. However, when they get into these really critically high numbers, it's not sustainable for the community. But more importantly, if you've got corellas who are eating rubber, who are, eating wood around your windows and doors, when they are, eating other plastics, it's not good for them. And it's something that the government should prioritise as an initiative to, not just to, look after the corellas better and make sure that those that survive are fit and well when they reach adulthood, but also that we do protect that community infrastructure. And so I hear that the government are probably a little concerned. They don't want to appear that, particularly before an election perhaps, that they would be making a strategy which would involve a culling program of corellas, but it's certainly something that's needed. And just because they have said a strategy's coming, we need to see it in place and we need to see action taken because we just can't afford another season of extensive corella damage across the region.
And even if people, might say, oh, well, who cares about, say, rubber linings on, windows and that sort of thing, there is also the environmental impact that even councils will plant sort of street trees or reserves and the corellas will chew the tops off or even destroy those trees. Is there something to be said for, I guess, the community cost and impact of attempting to revegetate areas and the damage corellas do?
No, absolutely. I think that there are many good points for why this has to be addressed. It's really, I think the case has been put forward. We've put that forward to the government. They've agreed, yes, we need to manage corellas better, but then they're not telling us how they're planning on doing that. And that's all I'm really calling for and what the community is calling for. We've got a problem. Everyone agrees it's a problem. It's up to the government to devise a strategy. They've actually got one. Let's just release it and put it into place now.
And so that strategy, if it is released, what does that end up mean? Does that give council some guidance about where they might or might not run into problems with legal ramifications if they start managing corellas in a certain way?
Yeah, it'll give our councils a bit of consistency on what approaches that they can automatically apply in their local area. So at the moment, councils develop a plan on how they're going to manage corellas. They have to apply to the government. It has to go through this long bureaucratic process of approval. It's different from region to region and year to year. Everyone's got a different approach, and just because of the sluggish way it gets stuck up in red tape, and because it's an annualised problem, it doesn't shift, it's not changing. It really needs something that's at that higher level. We need to have a statewide strategy that has automatic consistency for councils, which will, of course, take the pressure off councils, might mean a little less time spent on working out a plan to manage corellas, and maybe they can put a bit more time and effort into perhaps fixing our roads or delivering other services for our ratepayer dollars.
Well, Emma Keeley, a member for Lowan in Western Victoria, thanks for joining us today. We'll ask the Environment Minister just where they're up to with that one, and we'll see what we find out. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ricky.